In a world where Blockbuster is dead and buried, where HMV had to be rescued from the grave, and where game shops are vanishing faster than your bank balance on payday, somehow CeX, or CeX to use the official pronunciation, is still standing. In an age where everything is digital, downloadable, and streamable, this chaotic secondhand shop shouldn't exist. It should have died a decade ago, buried alongside the iPod and physical encyclopedia. But the strange thing is that CeX is doing great. While entire shopping centers turn into ghost towns, their shops remain a bizarre hub of activity. They're bucking a trend that has buried almost everyone else in their niche. So, how? How is a shop that sells 50-pence copies of Friends on DVD and secondhand PlayStations succeeding when everyone expected it to crumble? Let's get the obvious out of the way. CeX, which stands for Complete Entertainment Exchange, shouldn't be alive. On paper, the business model looks like a recipe for disaster. They trade almost exclusively in physical media and used hardware. This is a direct problem when the rest of the world has gone digital. Spotify and Apple Music erased CDs from our lives. Steam, Epic Games, and subscription services like Xbox Game Pass have made buying physical games outdated. And DVDs and Blu-rays? Netflix buried them in an unmarked grave years ago. And yet, walk down any high street and that defiant red logo is glowing like a beacon for bargain hunters and people who just found an old Xbox 360 in their loft. This level of success all comes down to a core insight that its competitors completely missed. CeX understood that in an economic downturn, people crave tangible value. And value is CeX's entire game. The value you get when you trade in a phone you thought was worthless and walk out with £100 cash. The thrill of grabbing a second-hand PlayStation game for £6 instead of paying £70 for the digital version. CeX lives in a perfect sweet spot between nostalgia, recession-era budgeting, and pure practicality. What CeX has built is a powerful loop, a closed, circular economy. You bring in your old, unwanted tech, you get money, and you use that money to buy someone else's old, unwanted tech. It's retail recycling, and in the middle of a brutal cost of living crisis, that system has never looked more appealing. But hold on, other places tried this. HMV and Game both leaned heavily into the second-hand market, and they still struggled or died. So what makes CeX different? The secret lies in its aggressive business model. CeX is essentially a high street pawn shop for geeks. Its business model is built on one aggressive principle: buying. While other retailers focus on selling you new, shiny things, CeX's first priority is getting you to sell them your old stuff. They're a vacuum for the clutter in your drawers. That stack of dusty DVDs, the cracked iPhone you thought was worthless, an old graphics card, a first-gen smartwatch, a pile of Nintendo DS games, they want it all. This was proven in a fantastic bit of viral journalism. A reporter from The Express took a box of 100 random, mostly forgotten DVDs to their local CeX to see what would happen and walked out with nearly £12 in vouchers. While £12 is hardly life-changing, the real magic here is that CeX turned a box of literal, unsellable junk destined for a landfill into functional currency. And this is where the real genius of their model kicks in: the pricing. When you take your stuff to that counter, they offer you two prices: a cash price and a voucher price. And the voucher price is always higher. This is the engine that drives the entire company. It's a simple, brilliant psychological trick. Why take £80 in cash for your old console when you can get £100 in store credit? Most people, especially if they're already in the shop, take the voucher. And just like that, CeX has won. They've acquired your console for a cost of £100, but that £100 can only be spent inside their own ecosystem. You are now locked into the loop. You'll use that voucher to buy games, a phone, or a movie, which CeX sells to you at a significant margin. Then, when you're done with that stuff, you'll bring it back for more vouchers. It's a self-sustaining cash flow machine that keeps value circulating inside the company rather than letting it leak out as cash. But convenience and a clever pricing model alone don't explain how they adapted while their competitors flatlined. This is where CeX pulls off its biggest twist. It quietly went digital. CeX's digital strategy was focused entirely on what they do best: secondhand goods. Their website, while not exactly a masterpiece of design, is a powerhouse of utility. You can check the real-time stock of any item in any shop in the country. You can check the current cash and voucher prices for anything you want to sell before you even leave the house. You can order products to your door or even sell your tech without ever setting foot in a shop. And then they got weird. In some cities, CeX partnered with Just Eat to list items for sale on their app. You can now get a second-hand Xbox controller and a chicken tikka masala delivered in the same order. Even their cryptocurrency strategy was way ahead of the curve. Back in the mid-2010s, long before most people even knew what a cryptocurrency was, over 30 CeX shops in the UK started accepting Bitcoin. Some even installed Bitcoin ATMs. Their geek credentials were on full display. Of course, no story about CeX is complete without talking about the vibe, the smell, the chaotic energy, the staff who might be blasting drum and bass at 11 AM on a Tuesday while expertly diagnosing a faulty PS5. Somehow, it all works. In a world of sanitized Apple stores that look more like upmarket medical clinics, CeX feels like the last chaotic corner of the high street that hasn't been flattened by corporate polish. It's rough, raw, and it feels real. You're not having a curated brand experience, you're rummaging. And that authenticity, that lack of polish, is precisely what keeps people coming back. It's thrifting for people who want classic console games rather than ancient Fusty sweaters. CeX is one of the last places on earth where browsing actually means something. Amazon's algorithm knows what you want before you do. Netflix shoves the same 5 shows in your face every night. It's a homogenized, predictable world. CeX is the opposite. It's serendipity. You might walk in looking for a charging cable and walk out with a rare Japanese import DS game, a copy of a movie you haven't thought of since you were a kid, or a camera lens you didn't even know you needed. There's a magic to digging around those shelves that no algorithm can replicate. And it's looking like that'll still be possible for some time to come. The company's core strength is its ability to pivot. When DVDs finally die for good, they'll just expand the space for smartwatches. When physical games dry up, they'll double down on laptops and VR headsets. The specific product doesn't matter because the model itself is the main engine. Fast turnover, flexible stock, and that inescapable cash for voucher loop. So, is CeX the future of retail? No, not exactly. But it might just be the cockroach of retail. The scrappy, weird, and unkillable survivor that adapts just enough to avoid extinction. And in a time when the biggest, most innovative companies on earth are collapsing under their own weight, maybe that's the smarter strategy. CeX's real victory is its sheer persistence. It's winning simply because it's still there. Reliable, weird, slightly smelly, and somehow completely essential. It's a place where the past and present collide, where you can swap your childhood for a new phone, and where the vibe is frozen somewhere between 2007 and whatever the hell is happening right now. It really shouldn't work, but it absolutely does. But what do you reckon? Are you a regular CeX customer who still hunts for bargains, or do you just have memories of trading in your old PS2 games back in the day? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, give us a like, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. Cheers for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.